Maybe. There we go. We're live. Welcome to episode 9 of the Cubby Climb. I'm Jacob. I have Blake on my, okay, I do it wrong every time. I got Blake over there and then Brett even farther over to my right, left, right, whatever. But yeah, it's been about a month. A lot has happened since we last talked. But first off, how's it going, guys?
It's going good. It's been a yeah, it has been a hot month, but it's good to be busy and glad we could hop on now and kind of reconnect and see where we're at with the season with Brett.
Yeah, season's been good. Finally, been able to string a few series together and be healthy and pick it up a little bit here towards the end. So it's good to see you guys and it's good to get back on the pod.
Well, you mentioned like the hot month, and it's September, which is crazy for so many reasons. A, because I remember when what feels like yesterday, I was waiting for baseball season to actually get started, and now it's almost done. Baseball's almost done, but then we got football. But baseball is almost done. Do you feel, Brett? And I know from a fan aspect, from Blake and I, it's like, yeah, we want more baseball, but it's like, man, let's just get to the postseason here. Obviously, Double A and the minors don't play as long. Do you feel an extra like you have to push through? Like, man, I'm really worn out. Like, how much of a it's September, you know that you obviously want to perform well, but you've been playing for several months. Does that take a big toll on your body here going into the final month?
Yeah, I mean, the last 2 weeks always feel like the longest. One of our hitting coordinators was in Birmingham with us last week, and he was telling us that the month of September for Double A and Triple A specifically, because Low A and High only have one more week, but we have 2 weeks left, and then Triple A has three. Um, he told us that they're gonna feel like the longest weeks of the year, so you got to stay strong. And yeah, I mean, I'm I'm excited. I mean, we have two more series left. We're still technically in the playoff race with Birmingham after we took the series against them, so that's good. And yeah, I mean, the season's been long, so I am excited for it to be over, but at the same time, excited for these last 2 weeks too. It definitely can make or break your season when it comes to number wise. So you gotta, take every at bat like it's your last and keep the head up.
Yeah, and you've
How
definitely
do you
you've definitely
go ahead?
you I was gonna say, and you've definitely been doing that because you've OPS'd 816 in the month of August, and it looks like your highest OPS of the season if you go month by month. Has something clicked for you, or is this just finally getting that healthy runway under your belt? How you feeling at the plate? Obviously, pretty good.
Yeah, definitely a part of like, being able to stick with the routine now and continue to do that. But I would just say the mindset has kind of gotten a little more um, condensed and filled together. And we found a few things mentally that definitely helps. We didn't really change anything when it comes swing wise. But yeah, I mean, a lot of it has to do with being healthy and having like I said, a consistent routine and being able to be on time for the fastball is pretty much the really big change that we've had mentally. So yeah, I mean, being able to put good at bats together, put good swings on the ball, and yeah, the numbers speak for itself.
Well, yeah, I mean, getting on base has always been a strong suit, and you look throughout the year, even in June when you only hit 209 average wise, your on base percentage was 346 because of the walks. You've had 20 walks this month. How do you balance wanting to be patient, but also knowing that in the end, getting those hits and you have 19 RBIs. So, like, how do you balance mentally the wanting to get a hit, but also knowing it's okay to be patient? Because we do see a lot of players that like PCA doesn't walk. He's just going to attack, attack, attack. How do you balance that mentally? Is it situationally or just every at bat a thought process?
I mean, I definitely feel like I'm one of the more like perfect. Like I'd love to know what the pitcher has going into the at bat, and then I kind of do what our hitting coach here in Knoxville calls like keyholing. You're kind of looking in one spot for the ball to start. It's whether it's you're hunting a fastball, you're hunting an off-speed pitch, and if it's there, you go. And at the beginning of the year, that was something that I really had focused on. looking for my pitch, and then when I get it, doing damage on, and that's what kind of helped me get to that hot start. And then we had the injuries and everything, and it kind of faded away, and now I'm getting back to that where you know I'm gonna be really aggressive in my one spot, and if it's there, I'm gonna swing. If not, I'm gonna take it, and that also helps with not chasing pitches. Or if a pitcher makes a really good pitch, like on the outer edge, I'm not swinging at it and hitting a pitcher's pitch. Instead,
Mhm.
I'm looking for a mistake to keep it short. And that has really helped me as well. And that's why the walks are high as well. Because, like I said, sometimes there's a strike call that the umpire gives you a ball for, and that totally changes the at bat since I'm not looking in an area, I'm not as competitive in that area. So, and like I said, it depends on the pitcher, but that's kind of been like the main approach that really has helped, not only get the walks, but the RBIs, knowing like with guys in scoring position, the pressure's on the pitcher. So now what they have to do is they have to execute their pitch even more. And instead of me expanding the zone, because I know a guy's in scoring position, it actually shrinks.
Mhm.
Um, so like I said, like I can take two strikes. I've full confidence in myself with two strikes to still be able to hit. And that's why, if a guy dots two pitches that I'm not gonna be able to do damage with, then I just tip my cap and say, all right, let's just battle this third one out. But until then, it's like attack mode. Look for what you're looking for. If you get it, then go.
Sounds like mentally, yeah, you're in the right headspace, and I mean, you just mentioned you've done a lot for yourself in that regard. We talked about the end of the season and like how it's coming to an end. Is there a part of you that, and obviously you're a baseball guy because it's your job, but we're getting toward the end of the season. You're on a hot streak. Most people, when they're on a hot streak, don't want that to end. And unfortunately, at this point of the year, it's gonna end at some point because the season will be over. How do you kind of compartmentalize what you're doing right now and carry it through the season to the end of the season and then into next season? Like, is it just sticking to your routine, or is there part of it that's like, I'm so on fire right now, I don't want this to end. Like, let's play more baseball. Or is it kind of like, hey, I know this is coming to an end. I just got to keep doing what I need to do coming into next year?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. You want the season to keep going, so you can keep playing good baseball. But like you said, it's going to end at some point. And I think morely what I'll do when the season's over is kind of look at what I did really well in that stretch,
Hmm.
and what I didn't do well in that stretch, and then kind of be like, all right, well, what do I need to work on more now during the off season based on, this is close to obviously not my best baseball, but this is close to my best baseball, like playing really well, having good at bats, good defense. What did I do really well when I was playing really good baseball, and what did I not do well? And that's kind of going to be the focus in the off season for me. So yeah, I mean, it sucks. The season's ending. You're playing well. You want it to keep going, but at the same time, I think it's a good time of like being able to reflect. Had 300 some at bats throughout the year, which really isn't as much as what I had last year because of injury, but still, that's a very good chunk. So it's a lot of at bats you can go over, kind of review and stuff like that.
Well, and so a question that may not have a fantastic answer for, because maybe it's something that you don't notice, but your home and away splits stuck out to me when I was looking over the stat sheet before the episode. And I go back to Willie Adames when he was with the Rays. He said, I can't see the ball here. I can't hit here. And he was very open about it. And he said, like, it was nothing against the Rays, just he could not see well in that park. People thought he was just making stuff up to excuse his bad stats. He goes to Milwaukee, kills the ball, and does amazing. And they're like, oh, maybe he was right. Well, you're not to say you're awful there because, again, the on base percentage and the 238 average, but there is a significant climb in the OPS when you go on the road. Is that something that just happens, just a coincidence, or do you notice seeing the ball better at different road parks?
Um, I mean, yeah, there are definitely places where you see the ball better. I guess that's more of a coincidence type thing. To be completely honest, I actually feel like I'm more prepared when we're at home. I would also say that our home field is very hard to hit for OPS in. It's a very big ballpark. The wind rarely blows out. Like the gaps are huge. So, but yeah, it's a very hard ballpark, and I'm sure that a lot of my teammates would also agree with that. It's an extremely nice ballpark, but it's just really hard to hit in. And there are some other places where like Rocket City is really easy to see the ball, and it's really like the corners are super small, gaps are pretty big, but still like that's a hitter's ballpark. Columbus as well, same thing, hitter's ballpark. So I mean, you can kind of compare our home field to other fields as well, and just say, like our field is very hard to, hit for power in. It's a tough ballpark to hit in. I wouldn't really say seeing the ball. The only place where I really feel like I had a tougher time seeing the ball was in Chattanooga. That's just because it's a little bit of an older park. The lights are a little run down. They get a lot of fans, but they're getting a brand new field next year, so that'll be pretty nice as well. So, but yeah, no, for the most part, I would just say it's more like coincidental. Like we have traject here at home, and I love hitting off traject. Kind of gets my timing down. So, yeah, that's what I'd say for that.
Well, and you mentioned the Rocket City, the Trash Pandas, which I've said this before. I love that name so much. It's just so fun. But you mentioned how like a smaller ballpark and how you see the ball well there. You got your second home run there. So that's another thing that since we last recorded, you got a second home run. That slugging starting to jump, and it was there. So a little bit of a like, hey, yeah, he does see the ball well there because he's starting to hit for more of the power in that aspect. Was there anything in that certain at bat like that you saw? Anything that stood out with the home run at bat?
Well, it was a pitcher that I think it was his third or fourth start in Double A. He had been rehabbing. He hadn't pitched since 2023 in
Oh wow.
affiliated ball due to injury, and I swung at the first pitch and I went over the fence. It was a first pitch fastball. Trying to be aggressive, trying to set the tone, especially for a guy, that hasn't really pitched as much. And get got good wood on it, and it kept going. Like I said, it's a pretty short porch out in left field, so when Oppo taco first pitch, felt pretty nice. But
Yeah,
yeah,
you're
I
still
mean,
you're still smiling about it. Must have felt pretty nice.
yeah, I didn't think it was out. I hit it and ran it first, and my whole team was cheering. Looked at the umpire, and he was waving his finger around in circles. So I was like, all right, I guess I'll take it. It didn't feel like I got it that well, but at that park, you don't really have to get it that well. A lot of guys know that. So
You will. So if you haven't seen a pitcher, obviously you hadn't seen him before, and he hasn't pitched in almost 2 years. Do you find that harder? Like, because in a way he hasn't seen you, but you also haven't seen him, and no one has. So it's not like, oh, let's look at the scouting report. Well, most of the scouting report is going to be 2 years ago. Did you find it harder to game plan against him, or like you said, was it just let's just be aggressive and see what happens?
yeah, I mean, we had I think three starts before, so we had a little bit of a general idea of what his arsenal was. Now, some of his pitches were a little more like sporadic when it comes to like the scatter plot that we had of him, but we had a general idea of what he had, how he's going to try to attack us. Our hitting staff does a really good job of giving us pretty good reports of in-depth reports of what guys have and what they're going to try and do to be successful and what you need to look for to be successful. And I would say the majority of us felt pretty confident going into that at bat, our at bats, seeing his repertoire, seeing what he had to throw. So
hmm Talking a little bit about into more of the division race because you mentioned earlier you guys are still technically alive. Looks like you guys are 8.5 back from Birmingham. It's kind of similar to what the Cubs are going through right now. When you're sitting at that 6.5, 5.5, kind of in it, but not really in it anymore scenario where everything really needs to break your way to win the division. Cubs will make the playoffs, but in terms of winning the division, everything kind of needs to break your way. I asked you, I remember asking you earlier in the season, do you standings watch? And you're like, no, not really. We go to the park, we handle our business. Does that change down the stretch a little bit? Because obviously you want the season to go on. And does it get ever demoralizing knowing it's like, man, we're right there, or man, we did a lot of things right, but just not everything quite went our way? What's that mindset for you? Or at this point in the season, is it kind of like, we did what we did. We we failed in some aspects, but exceeded in some aspects. But and that's just how the cookie crumbles sometime. What's your kind of mindset with that regard?
um, yeah, I mean, we obviously do toward down the stretch, but there is a lot of it that's out of our hands. Like I said, 8 games, 8.5 games with 12 games left. Is a lot to ask for things to go your way. And all that we know is that we show up to the field and that if we do our job and have good at bats, pitch well, play good defense, and win games. That's kind of really all we're mostly focused on. We want to obviously we want to win. We want to make it to the playoffs. We want all that to happen. But at the same time, there's a lot of other stuff that goes into it, as in like your own career and like being ready to play for yourself to some degree. And I'm not saying that guys are selfish, but at the same time, that's kind of the mindset, right? You handle your own business, everyone handles their own business, you get a win. And then at the end of the day, Birmingham, it's really up to Birmingham if they want to make the playoffs. Obviously, they have to lose a lot of games. We have to win a lot of games. But most of it's out of our hands. So I think morally it takes it's on us to, just continuously improve. We still practice, like still hit on the field. We're still trying to get better. And that's I think what most guys are, still trying to look at. Finish the season strong, um, you know, polish the routine, get a little bit better every day, and the rest of it will, figure itself out.
Well, there's some good division races in Major League Baseball as well. Obviously, the Cubs one feels pretty out of it right now. It's more of a wild card. And as you mentioned, Blake, with the standings watching, I have to imagine these Cubs players are looking at it and saying, we're playing really good baseball. They're 19 games over 500. Obviously, the last week or so has been a bit of a down, a bit of a slump, but at the same time, Brewers keep winning, and then every day that the Brewers lose, then the Cubs seemingly lose as well. But at some point, like Brett said, you can only handle yourself, albeit that's probably still a little demoralizing. So the Cubs division is over. So the Brewers have that one. The Phillies have their division. There's not a ton of division races left. You really only have the AL West, maybe the AL East, and then the NL West. So half of it is done at this rate. Are there any certain, just as a baseball fan, division races that you guys are watching, maybe for Cubs implications, or just as a fan, just what you think would be fun?
I mean, in terms of playoffs, I mean, I've been following the Padres quite a bit this little stretch because the Cubs have played really well at home, and I think it's pretty important to get that home field advantage. Maybe this is a good question for you too, Brett. I mean, the Cubs they're gonna want a home series, right? I mean, they're definitely squaring that away. I mean, is there any? Well, maybe let's spin it this way because this has been a hot topic too for the playoffs. There's been some people that argue against playing in the wild card round because obviously the bye is very important. I think getting to that best 3 out of 5 overall is more important. But there's other people that say that if you have that little break period and then you go into a divisional series, you could come out slow, as opposed to teams that play the wild card, win in the wild card, and then go to the next round and go on the road. Do you have an opinion on that, or as from a player standpoint, would you rather get that break, or would you rather let it roll and play that stretch through?
I mean, if you're playing, 162 games, I would much rather continue, and like be in the wild card because that's a real thing. Like having a long break is absolutely tough to, play after that break. I mean, we saw it in the Brewers Mets series last year, um, where, the one team had I think the Brewers won the NL Central, and then the Mets came in and they were hot, right? And it wasn't like the Mets were a really good team during the regular season, but they just picked it up during the stretch, during the end of the year, and then during the wild card, and then all of a sudden, whoa, like they're moving on. So, like in my opinion, I would not saying obviously being the one seed is great. Winning your division is great. That's the ultimate goal. But when it comes to the standpoint of like, if you're hot, that's like one of the best feelings. That is absolutely where a lot of teams would want to be. But yeah, like you said, Jacob, I'm watching this Padres Dodgers, because at the end of the day, I mean, if you're in the wild card, do you really want to play the Padres like or Dodgers? You know what I'm saying, with their staff that they have and the bats they have. So um yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to, down the stretch, kind of seeing how that whole that whole division works out.
There's a lot of a tweet that I reference, especially on the rant. I reference Jay Hay from Baseball is Dead a lot. He has a lot of just fun stats. He's a stat nerd. He said, as of now, there are zero teams in Major League Baseball with a percent to make the postseason between 15 and 85. None. You're either a complete long shot or a near lock with a month to play. So obviously, the third wild card is what is doing that. Someone said expand the playoffs even more, which I'm worried will happen if they expand the league. I would hate that. I would despise that with every fiber of my being. But is that like bad for baseball? I would assume so, probably. I would think that it's bad for baseball because then you don't have these playoff races, although you still don't have the division races. Curious your guys' thoughts on that.
I don't think there's need for expansion. I mean, I'd be curious to hear Brett's thoughts because I feel like in his shoes that would give them a better chance in at this point to make the postseason. But from a fan perspective, I feel like I mean, does anyone really want to see a sub 500 or a close to 500 Cincinnati Reds team in the playoffs? I'm not too sure about that. I mean, I'm sure Reds fans would, but from a fan perspective, I think there's still a level of desire before the season. Like, okay, we want to make the playoffs. In the NBA, there's teams that already know they're going to make the playoffs. Like the Rockets and the Timberwolves know they're probably going to the playoffs this year. So it's like, all right, you're playing a regular season for what then? Just to know you're going to get to that point. Cubs fans and a lot of baseball fans, I mean, ask Braves fans. The Cubs are about to play the Braves at 3 o'clock today. If you asked them back in April, they would have thought they were in the playoffs, and they're not even close. So I think there's a sacredness to watching a season where they make the playoffs. And I think right now there's no need to expand it, no need to add any more teams. But I'm curious to see what Brett's thoughts are.
Um, I mean, yeah, the implications of, adding a team or adding a few teams in that sense, to keep everything even would be pretty interesting, especially when it comes to, the playoffs, like you guys said. Like, it's only going to make it tougher for teams if you add an expansion team to make the playoffs. At the same time, as a player, like if you add a team that's an extra 26 spots, to make a big league roster. So, you know, or obviously, or yeah, like to make more money, you know what I'm saying? So obviously, we might not be opposed to it as much. And I'm sure there are other things that, players would not be happy with if there were an expansion draft or an expansion team added that would, there'd be some rules or some new things that would happen. But yeah, I mean, like you said, like it would definitely shake some things up. We'd have the new weird divisions that people are writing up that everyone's saying, oh, this is gonna happen if there's an expansion team. And that would definitely take a lot of time for me to get used to. So I like where it's at now. Obviously, they're always going to try and grow the game of baseball, trying to find that, next suited city. And I think at some point it is going to happen. Um, because they're, like I said, like they're just going to keep trying to expand it, keep trying to find new cities to be able to make money. And I'm sure that there are a good few options out there already. So, but yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I think it's kind of a win-lose, lose-win type thing, for the fans. But for as a player, like I mean, it would be more than entertaining, to see all the affiliates and everything else too that would come with that. So
Yeah, well, like you said, that's more jobs for the players. I think you're looking at it, and that's 52 more major league spots, assuming they would do two teams, which I assume they would. So then that's 52 more spots, and then that's a lot more minor league spots as well. So that could only mean good things for the players. I want to wrap up with the NFL is back, or it will be back in approximately 3.5 days. I believe it's Eagles Cowboys is the opener.
hmm yep.
And then our Bears and Vikings match up next Monday. How are we feeling about that game? Obviously, the podcast face off of the century, some are saying.
I think the Bears
I
are
mean,
back. I think JJ McCarthy is going to have a big problem come Monday night.
no, I mean the big problem that I'm more scared of is playing the Packers. No, I'm happy that um yeah, they got Micah Parsons, and man, I was just so sad when I saw that. But I will say that the only good thing about them getting Micah Parsons is that we have a little bit more of a movable quarterback rather than Sam Darnold. So I'm not as, like JJ McCarthy can get out of the pocket, he can move a little bit. So I'm not as scared. Like if we still had Sam Darnold, I'd be shaking in my boots. But um I'm not as scared. I still am. I'm still terrified. But yeah, I mean the Bears, it'll be really interesting to see what Ben Johnson has cooked up for the Vikings. I think we're going to your guys' place, right? It's at Soldier Field. So yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be a pretty good game. I mean, I think that's anyone's game because you got a now more experienced Caleb Williams with Ben Johnson at the helm, and then you've got a rookie quarterback that has all the weapons in the Vikings and a pretty solid defense. So I think it'll be a very good game. I think they chose a very good game for a week one Monday Night Football.
Yeah, NFC North
So
matchup in
good.
Chicago. It'll be exciting. I think Brian Flores is gonna have something cooked up for Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams too. But I just don't go out there and embarrass me. Like that's all I'm asking for. Like the Bears have let me down too many times. Just go out there and even if they scored like 28 points and the Vikings still beat us, like I could kind of like find a silver lining in that. I just don't think I could watch Caleb Williams run for his life and feel good for that week one.
I'm sure there's gonna be a totally
That
different game plan.
Yeah, no, it should be fun. I will ask, I guess both of you, fantasy football. Are we drafted? Do you guys play fantasy football? And if so, how are the teams looking?
I had a draft last night. I have a draft tonight. And to be completely vulnerable and transparent, I think my team sucks. Like usually people draft their fantasy football team and feel really good about it. I drafted mine. I was like, man, this is going to be rough. So I hopefully I get proven wrong by my own guys. I got a couple Bears on there. I got Josh Allen at quarterback. So I do play fantasy. We'll see. It's a rough start, but I draft tonight. Hopefully we can flip the script and build a little better team.
I do not. I just feel like that'd be so much for me. I just like watching it for what it is. So I'm passing on the whole adult fantasy draft thing for me.
Fair enough.
Do I know like some teams do fantasy drafts. Like do the Smokies have a fantasy league, or like is there any other fantasy football or just football gurus on the squad?
There are a lot of fantasy football players. I think a lot of guys have just like uh leagues with guys in the org that they kind of like got drafted with and they're like best buddies. Kind of stuff like that. I don't think we have like a Knoxville Smokies league, so I think it's more like just like I know Opitz has a bunch, probably like his Arkansas buddies, and then some players in the org that he's good friends with. So it's like kind of spread out.
Hmm.
It should be fun. And college football obviously started as well. Arch Manning, bust. That game was quite over. I don't. Do you watch college football at all, Brett?
Yeah, yeah, no, that was our Saturday game. We had a really late start because it was the first Saturday college football game. So it was a good field by Skip. But yeah, we watched that entire game. Like I said, I was not surprised that he did not play well. It's his first like real start at an away field. Like you think about it, like it's his first away start at the shoe. Like I mean, that's a tough start for a guy, even that has his high expectations. I mean, he was a preseason Heisman favorite. So, um, yeah, I mean, it was a good game overall. I mean, not a lot of good offense, but really good defense. But I'm sure he'll bounce back. I mean, I called it with Shaw. I think it's way too early to count it out for Arch Manning. I think in like 4 or 5 weeks, we're gonna be sitting down and we're gonna be like, yeah, I mean, he's still Arch Manning, so I'm not really worried about it.
There you go. Heard it here first. Matt Shaw and Arch Manning. The meme, them shaking hands. Same deal.
They
So,
are one. They are one.
Yeah, I mean,
so
Shaw's been really fun to watch down the stretch.
Yeah, especially defensively.
Yeah,
that brings up an interesting question that we can kind of close out. When you're in a certain position batting in the lineup, whether you're hot or cold, because with Matt Shaw, a lot of the discourse is move. Why would you not move up Matt Shaw, who's hitting? He's OPSing like 850 in August. For you, in your perspective, is there a certain level of comfortability if you're batting really well in a certain spot in the lineup? Does that change if you get slotted around? So, like, if you're batting poorly in leadoff and then they move you down, but then you start hitting really hot again in, say, the eighth or ninth hole, are you kind of thinking to yourself, like, hey, I think I can help this team a little more if I get moved up in the order? Like, are you more comfortable that way, or how do you kind of perceive that in your eyes from like your hitting and confidence perspective?
Yeah, I mean, getting moved around is definitely can definitely change your approach. It absolutely can mess with, your like hitting ability. Like it's a real thing. Like I've been slotted around a lot here as of late. They're trying to get, I think, Rojas a lot of at bats, which makes sense.
Hmm.
So like I've been hitting 2 and 3, which honestly I don't mind. But I'd much rather be hitting one because that's just what I'm used to. Like that's how I create my approaches. And it's
Sure.
had to shift a little bit hitting into 3 because now you get a lot more off speed. You get pitched around a little bit, which is cool. Like, but yeah, I mean, the argument for Shaw to move up is interesting because yes, he's hitting extremely well. Obviously, you want to get him more at bats. I think at the same time too, there's kind of like you have a lot of older like veterans that, to be completely honest, not saying that Shaw is not as experienced or Shaw isn't as good, because obviously he is. He has proved it to us in the past few months. But like at the end of the day, like you want to give your most polished veterans the at bats. Because at the end of the day, like they've been there, they've done that. Like we've seen that with Turner in the past, obviously. They're trying to get him a few more at bats as well down the stretch here. But that's kinda like the mindset, I think. I think council probably looks at it as these guys are like older veterans. They have been here before. They have done this before. And I think he's always gonna keep going to those guys. Like Ian Happ, for example, he's picked it up really well. Like he has
Hmm.
looked really, really good. And that's just what happens. Baseball happens, you have bad stretches, and he has, picked it up. And that is perfect. That's amazing. That's what you want out of a guy. And he's looked extremely comfortable in his last few at bats, his last few games. So that's what you need out of a guy down the stretch, especially in the postseason, and a guy like Ian Happ. So um yeah, I mean it's kind of tough to mix up the lineup when you have so many good bats. And
Hmm.
so that's kind of what I would say. Like you always could move him up, absolutely. Like he's the hot bat. You move him up, if it's a bunch of, mediocre guys, but that's not what we have. We have a bunch of really good veterans on our team that, deserve their top spots in the lineup or can change the game with the swing of their bat. Um, and put really good at bats together. So that's kind of what I would say. I mean, it's a tough decision for Council for sure, and I'm sure he's thought about it. But I think he's just always going to go with the season bets.
Hmm. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
about all
and we
I
saw a
got.
lot of yeah, I was going to say the lineup controversy with Casey now being sent down. But it was fun to see him, and it's been fun to see these younger guys, obviously Shaw and Horton, who rookie of the year. I I think he has a pretty good shot, especially if he keeps it up. But then we got a little snippet of Owen Casey before he got set down, and now Kevin Alcantara looking to wreak havoc. But should be a fun last month. Um, yeah, I think that's all that I had agenda wise for today. I don't know if you guys had anything else you wanted to hit on.
Nope, not quite. Good to reconvene. I think in a couple weeks we'll kind of wrap up the season, wrap up Brett's season, and then start talking about the off season. See what's in store for that.
Yes, sir.
And next time we meet, the Bears will be 1-0 against the Vikings head to head this season. So that's something to look
Mm.
forward to.
It'll
I
be a
can't
good
wait.
game. That's all I'll say. I won't smack talk. I'll just say it'll be a good game. I'm excited.
There you go.
Um, I just hope it's a good close game. Honestly, I don't want it to be a blowout either way. I think that'd be kind of boring. So
Yeah, especially for week one. That's what I said. I always try to keep my hopes like I never try to get my hopes up about the Bears because I know they let me down one way or another. But we're
mm,
at the point where I'm getting my hopes up and then give it 2 to 3 weeks and I'll back down to earth. But it should be fun. The NFC North is like stacked. Like
yeah,
all four
it's the
teams
best,
are going
probably
to
the best
be.
division.
It has to be because especially even
Yeah,
now adding Micah, it, dangerous. I mean, every single team you could make a case for being one of, top two in the division, I feel. They all have incredible rosters. It's just, how do the Lions go without Ben Johnson? How do the Vikings do with a new quarterback? The Packers hopefully are frauds, and then the Bears obviously with a newish quarterback and new head coach as well.
Hmm.
Should be fun.
We'll see.
Anyways, yeah, that was episode 9. We will catch you guys next time.